There we go. Thanks very much, Richard. Yeah, so hi everybody. My name's Kieran. I'm the Business Development Manager for OpenAthens. So I'm here with Sylvia. Sylvia will be taking over shortly to talk more about the implementation. But we'll start off by talking briefly about OpenAthens publisher customers in general. So firstly, publishers look to us for our experience and expertise when it comes to federated single sign-on. It can appear to be a lot to contend with at times, but there really aren't that many organizations out there with the decades of knowledge to support publishers while also supporting the needs of their library customers. I'll just leave that there for a second. So there's over 350 resources available through single sign-on within OpenAthens, a number we proactively try to increase every day. As with libraries, many of our publisher customers move to OpenAthens having only supported high IP-based authentication in the past, or username and password. And this is something we expect to happen more often because of the browser changes that you have heard about today, hopefully. We have customers in 87 countries, again, a number that continues to grow. And as we grow, we inevitably reach new publisher markets. And with that, we speak with more and more local and regional publishers. And this presents both opportunities and challenges for us. So on a single morning, we could be integrating with a large commercial publisher with a dedicated authentication team, while at the same time be working with a small ebook platform with limited technical knowledge on the complete other side of the world. But we treat every implementation the same, regardless of where the customer is or what content they provide. But yeah, the variety provides a real challenge. But again, it's been something we've been doing for a very long time now. So yeah, we often use publisher as a collective term here at OpenAthens, but many of our publisher customers likely wouldn't recognize themselves as such. So given the variety in our publisher customers, it's quite hard to get a single term that we could use. Some people use vendor, service provider. So yeah, although our roots are in academic journals going back nearly 30 years now, that's a picture that is certainly evolving. So just to give you a brief idea of the variety, we obviously work with university presses, which are very close to the library often, but our core customer base, academic journal publishers. Discovery services, so again, very key, particularly when it comes to deep linking. So yeah, very important they support that. Data platforms across many industries. Of course, ebook platforms. And an emerging market for us, news and current affairs. So as they look to move into the academic sector, there's few organizations like OpenAthens that can help them and support them going into the academic sector. And many more. So yeah, supporting publishers across many sectors, many markets globally is a challenge. We're a relatively small team. But yeah, it's worth noting also that we only work directly with publishers. So we don't work through partners when it comes to our publisher customers. So yeah, each integration is unique, and unlike with libraries where the local directory integration does at least some of the heavy lifting, there is no universal system in place for publishers. So integrations are very much a collaboration between our respective IT teams. Many publishers outsource their technology these days. So we're often working with third-party technical teams, and that includes platform providers like Atapon, Silverchair, Highwire, Pub Factory. It's quite rare these days, particularly in academic publishing, for publishers to host their own content. But as we go into new markets and new regions, you often find that they are still hosting and managing their content internally. Both are valid approaches to integrations with OpenAthens, but yeah, each provides a different challenge. So in terms of how we work with publishers, we've got three main products. Something you're probably all familiar with, so the obvious, the OpenAthens Federation, but it's probably where our library and publisher customers differ just slightly. So the value of the Federation applies across the board. So everybody benefits from having a secure and scalable single sign-on solution. But many of our particularly core academic publishers already support Shibboleth. And again, that is also the case with those hosted on the platform providers. So with no need for our software, it's the membership of the OpenAthens Federation, which is the main driver. So getting access to a huge network of libraries spread across the world is obviously very attractive to publishers who sell into the same markets, but also to publishers who are new or just moving into the academic sector. And again, partnering or working with OpenAthens to sell into those academic markets across the world. There are a few organizations who have that knowledge and expertise within this space. So OpenAthens Keystone is probably the closest equivalent we have to our library product for publishers. It's a fully managed single sign-on solution used by, I think, around 60% of our publisher customers. Keystone can be used in a variety of ways. Yes, it supports access to the OpenAthens Federation, but any federation. So if you want to be a part of the UK Federation or in common, you can do that through OpenAthens Keystone. But can also be used to integrate directly with a library's directory. Again, if OpenAthens or Shibboleth are in place, that's not necessary. But many of our publisher customers also have corporate clients who might only have something like Microsoft ADFS or Azure AD, so they can connect directly through OpenAthens Keystone that way. There's a new reporting tool which we've just released, so bringing it aligned with our library products, we can give publishers better insight into usage. And it's also a service used by libraries. So again, if you have internal applications, repositories, or if you have a repository you license externally, there can be real value in having Keystone. And we know lots of you use things like Shibboleth SP for these sort of things. But sometimes there can be real value in using OpenAthens Keystone and having a managed service. And Wayfinder, again, you may have come across this without necessarily knowing it. We haven't really branded it in many instances. But if you come across it, you'll certainly recognize that there are many publishers using a consistent organizational discovery tool or a WAIF. So yeah, lots of our publisher customers use the OpenAthens Wayfinder, and that was our approach to trying to make a consistent experience across platforms. But also, again, really important, giving users the ability to log into resources when they're offsite. On their mobile, they can go directly to a publisher website and they have a means to log in. But yeah, everything we do is underpinned by the OpenAthens Federation. Growing that federation benefits the library, benefits the publishers, but again, probably more important than anything, it benefits the users. So getting access to as many resources as possible with a consistent experience is pretty much the only reason the Federation exists. So yeah, where do publishers come from? So yes, as the needs of users adapt in the modern world, publishers often do look for new technologies to try and stay ahead of the curve. But most of our publisher customers come from you. So it's a large part because of the library. I know there's some publishers on here today, but it's because of librarians that we're often able to attract new publishers. So yes, it's inevitable as libraries adopt OpenAthens that publishers will follow and vice versa. But some of our library customers are very keen advocates for OpenAthens and will often directly refer publishers to us. There's some really high profile advocates out there. I don't want to name them because I don't want to upset anybody who I miss off, but yeah, we really appreciate librarians advocating for OpenAthens. And from my experience, publishers are extremely responsive to customer needs. So the more you talk about OpenAthens, the more they become curious. So yeah, the power really is in the librarians' hands. And yeah, we're all constantly trying to get advocates for the service. Selfishly, yes, but also because it benefits you, the library, by having more of your resources adopting OpenAthens. So yeah, we encourage you to speak to your vendors directly, or even better, put them in touch with us. I'm always happy to, again, I've had joint calls with our library customers with a vendor. You don't have to do that. It can just be a simple referral, but yeah, they're often really, really keen to work with us and to speak with us. So yeah, if you just want to send something our way, then I'm more than happy to pick that up. That's kind of what I do day in, day out, is trying to get publishers on board with OpenAthens. I would think I'm passing over to Sylvia. So Sylvia, hopefully you can take control now.
Thanks, Kieran.
And I made this whiteboard myself, by the way.
Hi, I'm Sylvia, and I'm a team leader for the support and onboarding team. And today I'm going to give you an overview of the OpenAthens service provider onboarding stages. As you can see in the slide, there are around 7 stages, and we are going to go through each. The first stage is about gathering requirements and agreeing the scope of work. As it has been already mentioned, we work with a wide range of publishers, discovery services providers, video content providers, library systems, database suppliers, of course, journals and ebook publishers, learning management system. During this phase, it's really important for us to educate and to ensure that the service providers knows the library sector and knows the user's needs. When we agree and when we understand the requirements, and when the service provider understands the federation requirements, we can then move on to the next stage. We can agree on the scope of work and then move on to the next stage. The next stage is about design and development. This is the longest stage, as it is about developing the required features. And what does that involve? It involves developing a way to navigate to an organizational discovery service and maybe an institutional login on the website. It also involves developing an organizational discovery, or so-called "Where are you from?" service, so that a user has a way to get to their institution and then get redirected to their login point. It also involves developing a way to authorize institutional users based on relevant information to comply with the licenses. So, for example, institutional identifiers such a scope. Another crucial part of work is developing this functionality, which is waveless deep linking. A lot of times, this is the first time when the service providers hears about the concept. So during this stage, we focus on, again, educating and showing the user journey. We demo library systems and we demo library websites, for example, just to illustrate the user journey and be sure that we communicated the value between this functionality. Also, this functionality makes the publisher's platform compatible with the OpenAthens redirector. And last but not least, it's also about developing a way to use pseudonymous attributes for personalization features. We advocate against using personally identifiable information. And Adam, our next speaker, is going to talk to you about it in detail. The next stage is application testing. When the service provider is ready to test, they test the application on their end, and then we test the application on our end to make sure that all the required functionalities have been developed and there is also the user experience. And then we can, if the application is ready, we can move on to the stage that's called migrations and communications. We agree the go live date with the service provider, and we also need to migrate, if there is such a necessity, we need to migrate the users to a new method of authentication. So for example, if the resource was earlier accessible through the OpenAthens proxy, we need to migrate the users to use the new way of authentication. It's also about communications. We need to communicate all the changes to the customers and to our partners. And then comes the go live date, when the application gets published in the OpenAthens Federation and the new resource appears in the catalog of the customer, of every customer, OpenAthens customer. This is not the last stage. The last stage is about registering the application in other federations. We are advocates of federated access, and we assist service providers in registering their applications in other federations. And this is just to extend the coverage to customers around the world. And just to summarize, this is what the onboarding process looks like. There are several stages that we have in here. So for example, the gathering requirements and agreeing scope of work. The next stage is design and development, application testing, migrations and communications, going live, and again, going live in other federations. Thank you very much. And
thanks, Sylvia. I don't know how we're doing for time. So before we hand over to Adam, we do have a question from Amy Nadell. I found in the hospital space that associations and societies are going out on their own, leaving their third-party providers and don't really understand off-site access. I guess I'm asking, I need help with these information providers. So I think Michelle is typing. Yeah, so yeah, we'll, Amy, I think the best thing for us to do is to catch up after the call. Yeah, I'm really keen to understand a bit more about that. Yeah, we can afford to be proactive with these sort of things. Again, that's kind of what I do day in, day out. So yeah, I'd love to understand a bit more about that and see where we can help. So I will catch up with you after the webinar. I don't think we have any other questions. So I think, because I have no idea what we're doing for time, I will just hand straight over to Adam.
thank you.
And stop sharing. So thanks very much, Sylvia. Cheers.